Okay, so that was pitching. Wasn't the best display, but you get the point. Now flipping, on the other hand, is going to be a fixed amount of line. Okay, so basically what you can handle in your hand. I have the line looped out to my left hand off to the left. Here, let me get on this side. The line's in this hand, the rod's in my right hand. Flipping it out there and then feeding it line. So just let the line pendulum and then feed it line to get to your target. Boy, I have not flipped in ages. So, a good way to get better at flipping and pitching, and I used to do this a lot, believe it or not. You can't tell by the way I'm going right now, but is to set up targets. Okay, here I have a putting green. These holes are really small, okay? Probably a 6-inch, 8-inch round target. That's Cora, by the way. And just put them out in different places along your yard. And it's much better if you have a milk crate to stand on because it's more realistic to being in a boat. Otherwise, right now I'm having a hard time. I can't put the tip down as low to flip or pitch as I would if I was on the boat, because on the boat you're 16 to 18 inches above the water. Practice, folks, practice. You want to be able to put that bait quietly into a 6-foot section of cover. When you get really good at hitting your target, then you can start putting things above it. You know, something like a tree, or you can put like something like this over the top of the hole where you have to go underneath it to get it in the hole. It's just more realistic to what you're going to see out when you're fishing, right? You see a great hole tucked over there you want to hit, you got one shot. If you hit that bush and you disrupt it, that could be the end of it, right? So practice flipping and pitching. As you can see, I need to practice. Now, I don't flip as much anymore. So where would you flip and where would you pitch? And then why do I not do it much anymore? I'll tell you that. One, my pitching is about as accurate as my flipping. Okay, most of the time. There are times when my flipping is going to be way better, and there are times when I'll still flip. If you can get close enough to the cover without disturbing the fish, that's when you want to flip. Okay, it's quiet, it's stealth, you're up close and personal, you're probably no more than, and this will vary by the length of the rod. That's why rods got longer when flipping first came out. If you got an 8-foot rod, you can basically double the amount of line. So you got 16 foot, but it still needs to sink too. So I'm using a 7'4" here. It's more of a rod I would pitch with, a 7'4" to 7'6". I'm not going to get quite as much line out, probably closer to 14 foot of line. If the water's dirty, you can get up and flip. If the fish are spooky, you're going to have to move back and pitch. If the water's clear, you may have to move back and pitch. If you're punching in heavy grass, you can probably get right up there and flip, punch, whatever. I still tend to pitch. I like to get the bait away from the boat as much as possible, okay? I think it's an advantage to be away from those fish. They know when something is in their environment. Most of the waters I fish on here in California, very pressured, they know when something's around them, okay? So that's why I prefer to pitch now. Let's see, what else do we got? Yeah, just practice. I mean, that's the big ticket, right? You don't have to be on the water to practice. You can do it in your garage. You can do it in your backyard. As you get good pitching at 20 feet away, go to 25 foot. As you get good pitching to a 1 foot circle, shrink it to an 8 foot circle. You can use coffee cans and that kind of stuff. Better to have it closer to the ground, so maybe paper plate, paper bowl. If you're trying to pitch into something that's 8 inches off the ground, it's just not as practical, okay? And then you're going to be trying to raise the bait near the end of your pitch, which is quite the opposite of what you'll actually be doing when you're doing it, trying to fish it. You want to put that bait in there nice and quiet. Silent entry, gets in there, fish don't know it's coming, that bait drops in front of them, they react and eat it, okay? Flipping and pitching. We'll get to some more. I'm going to go inside and finish up. All right, so gear you need for flipping. Let's do flipping first. Typically a 7'6" to 8 foot heavy. I like it a little bit more of a moderate fast, so you get a little more of a parabolic bend in the ride, all right? You're short line fishing when you're flipping. You need some backbone, but you need to keep the fish on with that short line. And when you hook a big one, they get to flailing around a lot. And that more parabolic bend will help you land those fish. All right, lined. That's going to depend on what you're fishing, okay? Here where I fish, I'm pretty much 20, 25 pound fluoro. I'll flip braid once in a while. I just don't like flipping with braid. I don't like it in my hands because when you're pulling out the line, it's sliding through your fingers. And braid just isn't the most comfortable thing. I prefer fluorocarbon, okay? There are times when I'm in certain stuff that I will use braid. I always have a flipping rod in the boat with braid on it. I rarely use it, but when I do need it, it is there. Pitching. Pitching is really, you can pitch about anything. You can pitch to the bank. You can pitch to an open bank, meaning no cover. Sometimes it's just a more accurate way to present your bait. But in the lines of flipping and pitching, say we're pitching to cover, and what I was doing at Clear Lake, 7'4" to 7'6". And the reason for it, the little shorter rod, you could pitch with an 8 foot rod. I used to do it all the time. It's just the rod's heavier. It's harder to flick your wrist with the longer rod. You're going to be more accurate with a little shorter rod. 7'4" to 7'6". The line's going to be the same type of thing, right? You're going to get a little bit more flexibility depending on what you're pitching to, but most of the time when I'm pitching, it's going to be 15 to 20 pound test. Berkley Big Game is a great, inexpensive line. I've used it for flipping and pitching for years and years and years. It's very strong, very durable, works just fine, and it's very inexpensive. You get like, I think 660 yards for like $9 or something like that. Maybe it's 900. Depends on the pound test you get, I think is what it is, okay? So if you get 20, and you don't need to go over 20 with Big Game. If you get 20, you get a little less than you do with the 15, okay? It's a couple hundred yards less, I think. It goes by line diameter, putting it on their filler spool, whatever it is, so. But I always buy their bulk spool, the bigger one. I don't buy the 150 or 200 yard one because the Big Game is so inexpensive. And when it starts to get a little coily, pull it off and replace it. It's only a few bucks. So we already went over, okay, flipping and pitching. I always want the weight pegged, okay? You need to have the weight pegged so it doesn't separate. If it goes over something, the weight separates from the bait, your bait's never going to get down to where you need it to get down to. So peg your weight. And then I always, all right, not always, 9 times out of 10, I'm snelling a straight shank hook. That's just me. That's my preference, okay? Bob prefers, like when he's fishing a brudge hog, he prefers the offset EWG. He still snells it. So it's a personal preference, and you'll hear arguments from both sides saying this one's better, this one's better. Look, it's whatever gives you confidence in what you're comfortable using. That's what you use, okay? Because confidence is everything in fishing. God, I need to go fishing. I got the bug bad. I can't wait to get back up to Clear Lake. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.